Are you ready?
Good news, everyone!
I'm the surprise in your cereal box. I'm
great! Everybody else sucks!
I said, are you ready?
Yes, sir, random kid I just met.
It's Ciely.
Hooray! People are paying attention to me.
That's right, you're always blaming me. So, my reputation exceeds me.
It's time to check the link.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
You know what? You just made the list!
It's all in football.
Sure, we talk about it all the time.
Really?
No, burn.
What is up, you ducks? It is All in Football Week 11. Waivers. It's Week 11. Thanksgiving is here next week. Hitting that home stretch. Yeah. Is that a Christmas shirt? Is that green? Tell me it's a Christmas shirt.
It's a football shirt. This is game day. It was buried at the bottom of my drawer because I usually cycle through like 5 or 6, actually 10. What am I saying? But then I always fold them and put them on top of the older ones. So I was like, you know what? Time to switch it up a little bit. So I dug to the bottom of the drawer, found a green one.
I was really hoping because we found out, Nicole and I called the condo association to find out what the rules were for Christmas lights and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And the lady reading it to us was actually the front desk lady. She's like, oh, I don't even need to transfer you. I'll just read them to you. And then before she started, she goes, oh, I'm so sorry. She's like, I'm reading from the Grinch handbook. You can have white lights only, on the bushes only, a wreath only, starting December 1st only. It must be removed by January 10th. Anything else, you'll be fined or whatever. And so, like, no, we went this past weekend. We bought like 3 different colors of white lights, like the bright, the medium, the soft, and like all that. So we're going to we already put the Christmas tree up in the window. There's nothing on it yet. But the Christmas tree's we're so doing everything possible to like get within the lines of the HOA, but screw the HOA. She's like, I hope you don't have any kids. And I was like, well, we don't, thankfully, for that reason. But like, yeah, that's the worst condo association ever. But
yeah, that's terrible. Ours are like, we have an ugly Christmas party every year. So like, if you want to talk about gaudy, I'll get out. But I live in a neighborhood. I have a house that's different than the condo association, who are very, very strict, and apartment complexes super strict. Like, but I'm a Thanksgiving person. Christmas has its place. It's not in November. It's in December. My birthday is actually next Monday, and my birthday and Thanksgiving are 2 of the most important things of the year for me. Lots of memories. So Thanksgiving has its place for me. So I will not be touching Christmas stuff until after Thanksgiving. But I don't mind if other people do it. It's just a personal preference of mine. Thanksgiving is still a holiday.
Go ahead and have Christmas stuff up. I already do, so you can do it whatever the hell you want. I have no problem with
Agreed. I don't really care. I just do it for my own.
Yeah. And my birthday's in November too. That just even shows like don't.
When's
even
your birthday again? It's later in the month, right?
It is later in the month.
Yeah. You won't tell me how old he is either, everyone. I will be 39, so I will gladly let the people know I'm like second short on my way to 40. I don't really care.
I'm on the 29th, and I'm not 29. So there we
go.
So let's talk Week 11 waivers, which is kind of robust compared to the past 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Yeah, robust with all intents and purposes. It's robust for Week 11. Before we even get into this, Lauren, I want to say one thing I tweeted out last night. I did the joke from Jennifer Love Hewitt. What are you waiting for? From I Know What You Did Last Summer. Mm-hmm. Stop holding on to waiver priority and fab. And it's Week 11. I know everybody sits here and thinks, oh, well, what if blank shows up in Week 13 or 14 or a running back goes down? Or like, that happens like 1 out of 10 times, and the opportunity for said player, like let's say Christian McCaffrey was still on the Panthers, it might be Deonta Foreman at that time, it might be Hubbard, you might pick the wrong one, it might be somebody who's not even close to the value, so stop waiting for like a potential future lottery ticket. It's kind of the shiny new toy syndrome in a different way, is stock up now. Like, we're going to get to some names. Stop waiting. There's like 3 or 4 names, both at running back and wide receiver combined, Lauren, where it's like, no, there's no reason to pass on these guys because what could show up on Week 14.
Right, and that's another thing I want to piggyback off of what you just said. The options that are on the waiver wire at all positions, wide receiver, running back, and tight end, it is rare for this late in the season, but there are options here that are good season long. It's not like this is just a spot start that you're going to use in week 11 and then get rid of them. These are options that you can use all the way through the playoffs. There are some solid names out there. If you can get them, go for it and don't worry about it. Don't freak out. Don't think you're wasting your money on a 1 week deal. You're not. There are some names out there that I think that will be good for you the rest of the season. So go for it.
Okay. Let's get to some of those. And let's start. Do you want to start running back or wide receiver? Because there's big names at the top of both. What do you feel
Let's
like?
do.
Today?
I actually wouldn't mind starting at wide receiver because I think that, speaking
stuff.
of robust, I think that wide receiver is a little bit more robust than the other two fantasy relevant position groups we're talking about for the show. So if I had my druthers, I'd go wide receiver. But it's your show. I mean,
let's start with wide receiver. I won't pull the thing I do with Chris Meany and do the complete opposite of what you asked for. So we'll go to wide receivers.
I knew we were friends.
We'll talk about Christian Watson III, who is now, that's what I tagged him. He is now officially the third I'm the third, actually, if you're wondering. So Christian Watson, 3 touchdowns, breakout game, finally here.
Finally.
He's had opportunities in limited fashion because of snap counts, injuries, everything like that. Aaron Rodgers looks to him even with the drops. Again, drops. Jamar Chase drops. Deontay Johnson drops years ago. It doesn't matter. Drops. Yeah, okay. You know what that means? It means you're getting the ball thrown to you. So I know there are some players who can't catch. That's one thing. This is a little bit different because Aaron Rodgers still likes Christian Watson. Likes him so much that with drops in the game, he still threw to him enough to get a huge day with 100-plus yards and 3 touchdowns. If out there is Christian Watson, you see the list, so we're going to talk through the other names, but seeing the list that's there, is he the top wide receiver for you this week?
He absolutely is. The other name that's floating around is Kadarius Toney. You know how I feel about that, but Christian Watson by far definitely is. And for all the reasons that you brought up, it's the targets, right? So he got off to another slow start. I mean, this wasn't pretty in the beginning of the game, and Aaron Rodgers was like, "No, I will make you have a good game for the Packers if it kills me." And went for him finally. And this was even with Allen Lazard healthy and on the field. So it's not like he was just, the beneficiary of a ton of injuries. And no, he had to step up even with a veteran on the field that Aaron Rodgers is comfortable targeting. So he definitely is. Even if he doesn't have another huge repeat performance, he's still that guy, and he's young. He's still gonna drop the ball again, but with that constant target. The target share was incredible. So yeah, I'm all in on Christian Watson. I was not like a week ago until I saw what he was able to do. And I was like, oh, I get it now. Okay, I'm on board.
All right. So with that in mind, with Christian Watson, so let me kind of go down some options here. That would you drop Drake London for Christian Watson?
Absolutely.
Because I had Drake London droppable for weeks. So
yes, so did I. That's not even hesitate. Go for it.
Would you drop Alec Pierce for Christian Watson?
With Matt Ryan back in? Oy!
Yes. No, I'm saying clear yes. We'll get to Parris Campbell in a second.
Yes, I know. And that's exactly why I think I would. My Alec Pierce love and how much I absolutely adore him. But with Matt Ryan back and that offense looking significantly different with Jeff Saturday, I think I would. But it's for the upside of Christian Watson, too. I mean, Alec Pierce doesn't have that kind of mega performance tucked under his belt that we know of. So I will take the upside of Watson over Alec Pierce. Okay. And it hurts as I say it. So everyone knows.
This next one has to do with something I actually tweeted out before the show this morning. Well, depending on when you're listening to it, because it's Tuesday morning when I tweeted it out. And I said, fantasy managers have a breakup problem. They don't like to break up with people. Like they're worse than people who have like gone back and broken up with somebody like 4 times. Because I'm still getting questions. Should I drop Kyle Pitts, even though they have 2 tight ends? Should I drop Drake London? Should I drop Michael Gallup? And I know I was on Michael Gallup, but I told you weeks ago to give up on Michael Gallup. Let it go. Like, this is sing the song. Like, let it go. Like, I understand what you spent. I understand what you saw in him. I saw the same thing in some players. Michael Gallup's one of them. I thought as the number 2. And you know what? Maybe this week it finally hits for Michael Gallup. But the opportunity in your face is somebody that could be the one for Aaron Rodgers, at least the number 2. We're hoping Gallup gets past Dalton Schultz, which I don't necessarily think is happening. So, all that being said, I'm dropping Michael Gallup for Christian Watson. Are you?
Yep. Sadly, but yes. Okay. And this is crunch time, people. This isn't like, oh, well, we've got another, 6 weeks to see if something. No, you don't. You don't have the time. So go for the guys that are doing well, and don't hang on to a hope and a pipe dream that probably isn't going to come.
Okay. And that's like I said. It's like we've now have a 1 and 2 with Christian Watson for Aaron Rodgers, which is what we've been looking for the entire time. It was Dobbs for a brief amount of time until he got hurt.
Right.
He's still on that 4 to 6 week timetable. Maybe Randall Cobb comes back. He's a non-factor. Randall Cobb's not affecting this at all. Sammy Watkins has had his opportunities and can't even do anything when he's the only guy left. So this is your time. So I said Parris Campbell. And the reason I have Parris Campbell is because check out these numbers. He's my number 2 wide receiver this week because with Matt Ryan back, it is Matt Ryan who, since week 6 with that breakout game, in the 3 games with Matt Ryan, 32 targets, 24 receptions, 203 yards, and 3 touchdowns. In the 2 Ellinger games, 7 targets, 4 receptions, 58 yards, the end.
Yep.
Matt Ryan has moved to Parris Campbell and forgotten about our boy. I loved Alec Pierce too. He has forgotten about him. He was a non-factor this week. So Parris Campbell, is he that high for you, or would you go a little bit lower with some of the names that you see behind him?
I will, but I don't like it simply because I know what Alec Pierce has been able to do with Matt Ryan in the past. This one is not nearly as cut and dry for me, but again, I'm looking at upside between those 2 players, and Parris Campbell has it over Alec Pierce. So yes, I would go Parris Campbell next.
Okay. So, a good one in the chat. Would you drop Brandon Cooks for Christian Watson?
Yes.
Yeah, and here's why, because this version of Brandon Cooks, and this is what I'll say about, I actually said this in the breakdown of Christian Watson. Christian Watson could be a bust. We could find out next week, with everybody healthy, he's back to number 4. Could find out in 2 weeks, can't catch on, and he's hurt again. Whatever it might be. But the upside is what you're chasing here. It's waivers upside. It's also waivers week 11. Brandon Cooks type players, Zay Jones, Michael Gallup, even if it happens for Gallup. Again, I'm saying all these guys have similar options to them on the waiver wire. You'll find a Gallup, a Zay Jones, a Brandon, all these on waivers every single week. We've been talking about them for weeks. So that's why I'm going for Watson here.
Yeah, agreed. 100%. And I said that before too.
Okay.
You're going for the upside for Christian Watson here.
Would you, because this is going to cut, you kept coming at, why Tony? Why you hated me for liking Tony. You said that for weeks.
I hate you for liking Tony.
Oh, come on. Go back and check the tape.
I hate you for it. That's silly.
Juju Smith-Schuster, disgusting hit. I know the hit was intentional to be hard. I don't think the intention was to hurt Juju Smith-Schuster. That was very unfortunate.
It was just gross to watch. That was
violent, it was very painful to watch. But Juju, concussion, I doubt he plays this week, especially with how concussions are this week. I would have doubted he would play this week, even on regular old school concussion situations. But so no Juju Smith-Schuster, but he could be back in a week or 2. Tony stepped up. I thought he blew a hamstring. I think everybody thought he blew a hamstring when he was hopping down the sideline. But all that being said is Hardman could be back this week. I brought this up on Pat's show and then show yesterday with Chris, is that Hardman played about 60 to 65% in the slot. Juju had been playing a lot more outside this year, not the big slot we used to know.
Right.
Kadarius Toney filled in the Juju Smith-Schuster role and didn't play much out of the slot, even with no Mecole Hardman. That tells me, at least off of that sample, that with no Mecole Hardman, Hardman comes back and goes back to being Hardman, which is still better than MVS. So I go Toney, Hardman, MVS, and I think Toney has top 30 upside as long as Juju Smith-Schuster is out.
I don't hate that. I think I would still go Mecole Hardman over Kadarius Toney, but it's by a little tiny thin baby hair. I don't like Kadarius Toney rest of season, but I do think that he'd be a good spot start for week 11 and possibly even week 12. When did they already have their bye? My brain is mush at the moment. But yeah, it's so difficult when it comes to the wide receivers for the Kansas City Chiefs because it's Travis Kelce and everybody else. It's tough.
But are you saying the Chiefs have their bye?
Yeah. Wait, when did they already have it?
Yeah, it's passed. It was
yes.
a couple
Okay,
weeks ago.
that's what I thought.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to go spouting off.
That was around the Pacheco time. That was the Pacheco.
That
was all that. Yeah. See, remember all that?
These days run together, folks. They run together, and then your brain starts coming out your ears, or maybe that's just me. After Wednesdays.
So I have somebody in my waivers that I've been trying to tell people to pick up for weeks. I think you know the name, but I'm going to present it to you in a different way because everybody listening probably doesn't know the name and nobody wants him. despite being there for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. So much so that he got the huffy face emoji that says, I have nothing left to tell you, except I do have this. This is what I put in here, Lauren. Since week 5, player X is 31st in team target percentage, 20.3% of his team's targets. He is 9th in the league in his team's air yards percentage at 37.1. He is 13th in the league in yards per route run at 2.63. And he is 27th in fantasy in points per game and 10.5 points per game since week 5. Do you want this wide receiver?
Yes, and I know exactly who it is, and this player should not still be on your waiver wire, although he has done all of what you said quietly. He has not been celebrated. We haven't really been talking about him that much, except you and I have. But, the majority of the other waiver wire shows have not. And I
congratulations
do believe I know who it is.
to Lee and Joe both guessing the correct player, and because Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones are getting all the attention and glossing over what Darius Slayton, even Wan'Dale Robinson's getting more attention than Darius Slayton. I like some Wan'Dale. I know we love some Wan'Dale, Magic Wan'Dale, as somebody said in this chat weeks ago.
Oh, I like it.
Do you drop Magic Wan'Dale for Darius Slayton? He's the productive wide receiver.
Yes, I don't hate that. It is not sexy. It is not sexy. I get it. I mean, I think we have a fascination with youth in fantasy football, right? And just in football in general.
I don't think you're wrong on Wan'Dale if he was in a higher pass volume offense.
Correct. And that was going to be my very next point, because whenever we're looking at fantasy football, right, we want to have a nice diversified roster, if you will. We want to have some of those solid, safe floor guys. We want to have some high upside, pieces. That is Darius Slayton is one of those really solid floor guys who has the potential to have some upside games because he gets the looks, right? But like you just said, it's Saquon Barkley getting all the attention, and then it's Daniel Jones getting all the attention. Wan'Dale Robinson is in there because he's a rookie and he's doing really well, but Darius Slayton's over here like, don't worry about me, guys. I'm cool, but I'm still really good. So he's a super sneaky pickup. I really do like Darius Slayton. We liked him last year, too.
Sneaky.
We talked about him quite a bit last year as well.
Yeah, it's just the thing with Darius Slayton that keeps happening, even going back to his rookie season. It's kind of like once all the chips have fallen elsewhere, it's like, oh, and now it's his opportunity. But when everybody's ready, it's just like he can't get past it. Darius Slayton might be one of the weirdest wide receivers in the NFL because he produces when he gets the opportunity, but then when everybody's healthy, it's like the team doesn't, like the Giants, 2 different coaching staffs have not wanted to give him the opportunity when other people have been healthy.
I think he has like a squeaky wheel complex. Like he doesn't want to be a squeaky wheel and like ruin the team's mojo. So he's just like, hey, we're winning. Everything's good, but I'll step up when you need me. Like, the perfect, backup cheerleader.
I know that if you actually put up, I know if you put up numbers, you're going to get a much bigger contract. But if I was making like a couple million and just to stand on the sideline and practice with a team, I'm not going to be too squeaky of a wheel.
No,
I'm just saying.
No. Like, oh, you mean I don't have to get my head bashed in every single week to make my
because
money?
I know my talent would be capped. Like, I'm never going to be a top 20 contract. So I'll be like, look, I know that's not my realm of possibilities.
I'm not making $400 million?
Yeah. So like, I'm going to be like, you know what? Give me $3 million to stand on the sideline. I'm cool.
Good.
Speaking of standing on the sideline, he was for quite a while, but now he's not. DeAndre Carter, this is just what I said. He is number 5. He's behind the 4 we've talked about so far. And I said, until Keenan Allen returns, which might be this week, he's a top 5 wide receiver option off waivers. You just saw it last week. He was actually one of my sleeper wide receivers last week in my column.
Love DeAndre Carter, yep.
Hit on that. But if Allen's back, it's pretty much just sending him back to the waivers, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, unfortunately. And I was going to bring that up as well. Even with Mike Williams' absence, he's going to be coming back shortly as well. It stinks. DeAndre Carter is going to be one of those awesome, real inexpensive DFS plays that you just hope hits and he gets like some huge touchdown for like a random reason. But yeah.
I don't know why that thumb was broken.
What happened there? For everyone not watching, Jake tried to give me 2 thumbs up and one of them like died and like went.
Because that's DeAndre Carter. It might be almost over. All right. Let's keep going down this list. I can't explain it. Rich Rebar can't explain it. Meanie can't. Pat can't. Maybe you can, Lauren. Maybe you can explain this one.
Ooh, I'll try. I am a woman. I do have insights that men don't have. Continue.
It's a very small sample. It's anomalous as you can get. I've used anomalous probably more this week than I have in my entire life. because Amari Cooper, great at home and trash on the road, and Donovan Peoples-Jones, amazing on the road and trash at home, makes zero sense, especially because what Rich pointed out, and I was with him on this, is like it's kind of like you go with the matchup because Amari Cooper destroys man coverage. Miami runs a ton of man coverage, a lot of 3 deep, and yet Cooper stunk on the road, and Donovan Peoples-Jones was great on the road. I have Donovan Peoples-Jones in at 6. Guess what? They're on the road this week.
Yeah.
See?
There's no method to that madness other than follow the pattern. Follow the pattern.
So it's just home road. You're just going with it.
I mean, well, Amari Cooper has been like this, like pretty much for the entirety of his career. Save
even with the Cowboys.
Games. Yes, and with the Raiders, it was the same thing. He just is terrible at home. Like I don't know if it's like a comfort complex. You know what I mean? Like there's a big difference. Like when I go out, okay, I do my hair, I do my makeup, I put my. I do my hair, I do my makeup, I put on a cute outfit and I am out. I'm about to like slay. Okay. That's when I go out. But when I'm at home, I got my jammies on, hair up, no makeup on, slippers. I don't care. I'm in my comfort zone. Right. So maybe he's just, when he's at home, it's just kind of like, I'm just going to chill in my zone and I'm going to let, the other folks need to prove something, go do it. But I'm going to take, a half day. I don't know.
I mean, honestly, it could be mental because Mike Tomlin did the Hampton Roads Youth Foundation. So like I saw him every single year. And I even asked him that one year during that Ben Roethlisberger thing. I said, come on, be honest. Like, there's something we're missing. Why is he so much better at home and on the road? And he legitimately said, I have no idea. He goes, we don't do anything differently. Our game plan is not different. There are some matchup situations where we'll do a little bit. It's not like we're calling more passes, more this, whatever. He goes, some people are more comfortable in more locations. I'll say this. I have a Ciely sleep pad on top of my bed. It's terrific, by the way.
Oh my God,
maybe I should tweet out the link. I'll tweet out the discount link. Actually, they gave me a discount link because I talked about it one time.
That's
I didn't get a discount myself. But anyway, it's amazing. It has little tubes where water runs through it, so it keeps your mattress cooler. Like you can set it all the way down to like 58 degrees. It works. Like it actually got too cold one night. Point being, if I'm sleeping in a hotel room, the mattress is gonna get like the last time I slept on a mattress that wasn't mine, I was so hot I had to take the covers off. So I mean, I'm just like I'm speculating here, but maybe like you said, maybe some people, not that they have Ciely sleep pads, but maybe they're just more comfortable at home.
That's it. Well, that's the thing. Just like you said, and that's where my analogy was going with like going out and staying in. It's a mental thing, right? And it's all the way down to having to travel, right? Traveling sucks, right? No matter where it is that you go, for what reason, traveling still is not fun, right? So you got to travel. Then you're sleeping in a bed that's not yours. Then you're in a locker room that's not yours. And then everything is somebody else's stuff. So maybe that is part of that home road split. And it's just part of his DNA and something that we just need to be reminded of, which is what makes fantasy football so interesting are those slight little nuances that these players have when it's not just about, if it was just about numbers, which is what we would all love, it wouldn't be as fun because it would be way too predictable.
Don't even play the matchups.
These are humans. We're still talking about human beings. These players are not robots. So as humans, we do have our own specific tendencies.
I've said that all the time. So. People compare us to weathermen. I was like, and weatherwomen, and they're like, I'd rather be that. Like, they're wrong sometimes, but weather's a lot more predictable than human beings playing sports against other humans playing sports.
Yes.
Which is
with other humans calling plays.
Which is why I'm going to tie this in real quick.
And everything changes. It's
self-promotion real quick, Lauren, is I wrote 2 different articles on contract year myth.
Did you write a weather article too?
No. I actually do. I do have a weather, like how it affects the game, the 15, 25, 35 rule. Everybody should check that out because it tells you what to do with weather. But contract year myth and revenge games, both myths, 100%. 33% of the time, they do the same. 33% of the time, they do better. 33% of the time, they do worse. It means nothing. Both of them mean nothing. Why? It's because you have 10 other people on your side of the field and 11 people on the other side of the field that influence you and have nothing to do with how you play the game. So that was it. Anyway, let's continue. Jahan Dotson. We're going to get, I see the Allen Robinson thing. We're going to get to Allen Robinson in a second. Jahan Dotson returned last night, limited. He was in and out of the lineup, which wasn't the norm back when he was healthy. He was actually always basically
that was to be expected,
on the field.
Though.
Yeah, he was on the field, snap count-wise, even more than Terry McLaurin back then. Mm-hmm. So there's 2 things at play here. Second game back is going to be this week. Does Dotson move ahead of Curtis Samuel? Is Dotson in a waiver option for you? But the second part is, and I don't know how they do this and have any sensible brain function to do this, but Carson Wentz could be back at quarterback.
No.
I know, but stupider things. I'm just so. Does that play into your opinion of picking up Jahan Dotson?
Yeah. Okay, it actually does. So with Jahan Dotson, if there is the possibility of Carson Wentz returning, I think I would have a little bit more of incentive to pick up Dotson because Carson Wentz did love to target Dotson, especially deep.
He was the only one in the end zone who had an end zone, or only one who had end zone targets.
Yeah, and so I don't mind that. I don't mind that, and I still don't mind picking up Dotson, but I don't think he's going to have as high of an upside with Taylor Heineke because Heineke has eyes only for Terry McLaurin, which I love. Curtis Samuel's okay. The problem with Curtis Samuel here is that I haven't looked at the numbers, but I feel like he's moving more towards the run game with Jahan Dotson on the field. He's starting to rush a little bit more as to being a wide receiver like he was with Carson Wentz. There is a completely different identity to this football team depending on which quarterback is in. It's not pretty.
Well, Heineke also has this going on, heart eyes, for only one person. And that person is Terry McLaurin.
Terry McLaurin. It's like Andy Dalton and Chris Olave. There are other people on the field besides Terry McLaurin.
Not according to Terry. And by the way, just seeing Heineke go so super excited when Brian Robinson scored that touchdown, like the most excitable person you've probably seen this year, and then that kneel down to get the penalty at the end of the game to win. Like, how do you bench Heineke at this point? He's the best thing that's happened to this team this year.
Well, the juice and the energy that team has with Taylor Heineke, the moment he became the starter, changed the landscape of that entire organization with all the crap that they're dealing with.
He's like a Firefly on crack.
I am using that forever and ever and ever now. The Firefly on crack. I love it. That is kind of what he is, and the players love him. The quarterbacks coach loves him. Offensive coordinator loves him. So, I mean, it would only benching Taylor Heineke would only have to be out of some weird loyalty to Carson Wentz that he doesn't necessarily deserve. Not that I'm saying he's a bad person, but he's not a good football quarterback.
Okay, so let me breeze through these and then let's talk Rams. Traylon Burks back as well. Nah. It was the Westbrook Akina game, which you can bring Westbrook Akina.
Which he always has one of those.
Game.
He has at least one or two of those. Don't chase
it. Nico Collins, MVS, Julio scored. Any interest in any of these guys?
Nope.
Okay. If you had to pick one, maybe you're in a deep league.
If in a super MVS? Deep league, I would actually go Julio Jones.
Okay. Playing for the touchdowns?
Yep.
All right. So 2 specific names we have to talk about wide receiver. One is not actually, so I was going to bring up Van Jefferson because Cooper Kupp, for all intents and purposes, look, I don't want you to drop him if you don't have IR spots. But let me make that clear. Please stop not playing with IR spots. I don't know what the hell people are doing. But anyway, if you're in a 10-team league, if you're in a thin league, I don't know Kupp comes back this year because 2 reasons. If you look at the timeline, it's fantasy playoffs timeline. On top of that, that means 2-3 weeks at best left in the season. The Rams are done. Like the Rams, why would you bring back Cooper Kupp for 2 games to risk him for next year? Like I think that Cooper Kupp is droppable. I know that's painful. It's like it's the best player in fantasy. Saquon Barkley and Cooper Kupp. They're the best players in fantasy. There are other names right there with them, but I don't want to. But if you have to, I get it. That being said, it's now Allen Robinson and Van Jefferson. Van Jefferson got the touchdown late in that game. People have brought up Allen Robinson as would you drop Allen Robinson for Christian Watson is the first question, Lauren. And then the second question is, how interested are you in Van Jefferson?
That's a great question. And I am actually willing to drop Allen Robinson for Christian Watson. And here is my reasoning why. A, Matt Stafford cannot stay upright, or it's going to be Wolford. Don't like that at all. Plus, not only is there Allen Robinson, there is Van Jefferson, as you mentioned. There's also Tyler Higbee, and there is also Ben Skoranek, who is very, very fantasy annoying. All right, there are so many options. I think
Higbee's back to being relevant. He's the winner.
Yes, exactly. But you've got 3 wide receivers there that the limited passing game that they're going to have because of the way that the offense is running, whether it's with Stafford or with Wolford, doesn't give me the same amount of I believe in this A, volume, B, target share strictly for Allen Robinson. But I do see that when it comes to Christian Watson for the Packers. So for me, it is going to be Christian Watson over Allen Robinson because of that monster upside that he has. But it is that connection that Rodgers has been hammering home for his connection to Watson is what I'm saying here. I really, really like that. And I do not believe that Allen Robinson has that same connection, nor does Van Jefferson. have that same connection with either Wolford or Matthew Stafford, whoever we're looking at in week 11. So I'm going to go Christian Watson over Allen Robinson.
Okay. So let's move to Odell Beckham.
Did it sound like I was shouting there? I felt like I was very vehement about that.
No. That was just very firm, and I liked it. Odell Beckham, I see the comments, and I don't care where he signs. Yes, he's cleared. He is a trade chip. The likelihood that he hits the field before middle December is slow. I mean, maybe the first week of December. Look, Thanksgiving's next week. The week after that's the last week of November. Even if he signed today, you wouldn't see him until December on the field. He's not going to just go, boom, on the field this week playing. So he's coming off a major injury, and then maybe if it's not till mid-December, that's the playoffs. Are you going to play him in your first game in your playoffs? I know Odell Beckham could be things, but this is the Josh Gordon effect. Pick him up for the name. As soon as he signs, put him out there in the trade market. If it's today, as soon as he signs, put them out in the trade. That's why I'm not picking up Odell Beckham to use him. I'm using him to trade him. So, but if your trade deadline's passed, that's a different story, obviously.
I mean, if you want to talk about upside potential, for me, I agree and I see where you're coming from. I don't mind if you have the space, right? So if you have the room to handle this, knowing Odell Beckham Jr., he could be relevant in the fantasy playoffs. You know what I'm saying? So I see the argument for rostering Odell Beckham Jr., but I'm more on your side when it comes to using him as trade bait, basically. But I also don't mind it. I don't mind it. I don't hate it. We've seen what he's been able to do, but that is boom or bust, the biggest shot in the dark that you're going to make. And I understand it's the name, it's OBJ, but yeah, I can see it and I understand it, but I am more on the side of pick him up, trade him, because someone wants to get him. Get him before that other person does, and then trade him to that person.
There you go.
Hopefully your trade
Let's
deadline
move to
isn't
running
already
backs. Most are next week. Defaults, if nobody changed them, most are next week. I think the 18th or the 19th, because it's usually like a Wednesday. Or wait, no, 19th would be this weekend. Holy crap, this month is flying by. All right, let's talk running backs. Gus Bus is back out there again. A lot of people dropped him, and I guess because of I don't know. What are you dropping Gus Edwards for? If Gus Edwards is back, which he's expected to be this week, he's back to being an RB2. Start him over Kenyon Drake. Just do it. Yeah. I don't know why. Edwards is top pickup. Assume he's out there. Number 2 for me, even though he's on a bye, Rachaad White has been in the waiver column for
We're there. We
weeks.
made it.
So hopefully, if you're watching or listening, you don't even fit. You're like, all right, Jake, don't care. Moving on. Rachaad White, we knew. You talked about him. Lawrence, loved him. He got the start. So the news is that Leonard Fournette's hip pointer is not going to make missed time, especially with the bye week. But he got the start in that game. Here's the comparison I made, Lauren. I said, this is the new Dallas Cowboys. Leonard Fournette is Ezekiel Elliott. Rachaad White is Tony Pollard. Who do you want more at this point of their careers? You want Tony Pollard and Rachaad White. Whether Zeke and Fournette, they're touchdown-reliant RB3s. Maybe RB2s, depending on the size of your league.
Yeah, agreed. I love what because Rachaad White and
hold on. Sorry to cut you off. I misread Brock's comment at first. I thought it said 3 or 3 leagues with a white baby, and I'm like, what the hell is this talking about? It's 3 or 3 leagues with white baby. Like, put a comma in there, Brock. That's like
punctuation is muy importante. Oh, Lord, that's funny.
All right, continue. Yes. Sorry to cut you off.
Anyway, so what I like about the Tony Pollard and the Rachaad White, both of these players, is not only do you have majority of the volume between those two players on their respective teams, but there's also the upside there because at any moment they're going to be angry running and busting off, breaking tackles and busting off these huge runs for a touchdown, whereas Leonard Fournette and Ezekiel Elliott are touchdown dependent, right? So I actually kind of see this as a little bit a Dalvin Cook, Alexander Madison situation as well. But Sunday with Dalvin Cook, that was nuts. He had a great game. So I think the Dallas Cowboys comparison is spot on.
Muy caliente.
Muy caliente.
Muy accurate.
En fuego.
It's good. All right.
On fire.
So this is interesting because I want to bring up the name. I want to bring up the name that's behind him because the name behind him, a lot of people are arguing should be the top pickup over Watson, like positions aside, over Edwards, over Rachaad White. It's Isiah Pacheco. We're back to the insanity we had when Ian Rappaport said, he's going to be the starter. And then everybody got ticked off because well, that meant nothing. And then we saw multiple games where it was a complete committee. What did we see in week 10? We saw Clyde Edwards-Helaire is dead. Gone. Didn't get a single rush. Didn't get a single touch because his 2 targets were not caught. And that's it for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. The snap count almost gone. It was the Pacheco and Jerick McKinnon show, who, by the way, Jerick McKinnon was coming off limited practices all week and was a game-time decision. So, that being said, I like Pacheco, but the reason I have him behind Rachaad White and Gus Edwards is for this reason only, Lauren. It's roles. He is runner only because if you check him in the passing game, you're not going to find him because he wasn't there. He's going to be touchdown reliant. I do like the Chiefs offense. I do like the Chiefs schedule. I expect them to get touchdown upside. I think the comparison that Brandon Funston made to me on the Athletic show yesterday is great to see if you agree with this. And it was Isiah Pacheco is Damian Harris.
Yeah. But I like Damian Harris better than I like Isiah Pacheco. So here's the thing.
I went the other way. I gave Pacheco the slight edge because of the schedule and offense.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that too. I guess they're just neck and neck for me there. I just get any given matchup, they can switch, right? So, and I actually mentioned this too in my waiver article that I put out for the fantasy footballers. If you want to take that risk with Pacheco, I get it, but I don't like it, and I wouldn't personally do it, right? Because not only are you going to be in a committee still, even with dead Clyde Edwards-Helaire, you never know when Andy Reid is going to be weird, like he does with his running backs, and suddenly it's the CEH show again, and Pacheco's like, hi, like he did with Kareem Hunt. It happens, right? And then there is still the thorn in the side that is Jerick McKinnon. And this offense does not run on the ground. This offense is through the air with Patrick Mahomes. That's just the nature of that beast. So I don't like the opportunity share that he has. And so far this season, he's had 3 games above 50 yards. That was in week, 1 with 62 yards. And I'm sorry, he's had 4. No, because the other one was 53. That was week 4 with 63 yards. Week 7 was 43, and then week 10 was his best at 82. I don't see that continuing. There is just way too many other factors that tell me, like, this was a good game. Can you do it next week? Could. If you're in a deeper league and you don't have a running back available, I don't hate that pickup because at least he is getting some touches, and he's not going to be an RB3. He's not going to be Jerick McKinnon. He's much better than that. No.
But
so
what? You know what one of those games was against, by the way? Was it
It's the Chargers.
63? No. The 63 was against the Buccaneers. So, just saying, he's good. He's nice. He's between the.
Yeah, but that's why I think that Damon Harris was not playing well. They weren't playing.
They're still not playing well. Their run defense is still overrated. Their defense is good. Their pass defense is actually pretty good too.
And that's what I'm saying. So he has.
I think they're more solid than they are scary this year.
But if these trends continue, when he was named the starter, he got.
Here, let's do a couple toss-ups. I like some of these toss-ups in the chat. Thank you, guys. The first one is actually back to McKinnon. McKinnon or Pirine. See, McKinnon's the usable one. Pirine's a potential RB2 if something happens to Joe Mixon.
If you need a starter, you're going to have to go with McKinnon. Otherwise, Samaje is just going to be an insurance policy.
Okay. So here's one from Lee. Pacheco or Brian Robinson. I go Pacheco easy. Even after last night. Yeah, easy. Brian Robinson was getting like 8. Brian Robinson, go back to last week's waivers. Look at how much Brian Robinson was dropped last week.
I don't care. He's going to be one. I'll take Brian Robinson.
One of the most dropped to one of the most picked up guys in 2 weeks.
I don't see it that black and white. I do not see it that black and white. I'm going to go Brian Robinson. I'm going to go Brian. He still said himself.
Are you with Brock? What is this? Be careful over here, guys. You and Brock. I don't see it that black and white with his babies and all that. Come on.
I had no idea where you were going with that. It's how about this one? Cut and dry. We'll do that.
There you go. You guys playing some weird leagues. I don't know what the heck you're playing in over here.
But don't worry, I have a white baby. Everything's fine. What?
3 of 3 leagues with it.
Choo-choo.
Speaking of black and white, Christian McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell for transition right there. We talked about it yesterday. We have a Shanahanigans problem. We have Elijah Mitchell problem. I threw out the numbers yesterday, and it was basically playing from behind. It's Christian McCaffrey. Playing from ahead. It's Elijah Mitchell. Neutral. It's about 60-40 Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey's still top 10 for me.
Yes.
We don't need to debate that. The biggest thing is that he's not in the conversation to be the number one running back.
Did anyone forget that Elijah Mitchell was there when Christian McCaffrey signed?
No, but here's where I'm going with this, Lauren. So Mitchell is my 4th pickup.
Ago.
I know. He's my 4th pickup. But I don't think anybody expected him to come back and be that involved when you have Christian McCaffrey. You sent the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th to get Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey was coming off a rushing, passing, and receiving touchdown with like a bajillion touches. And Elijah Mitchell, every time you've given him 18-plus touches in a game, he gets hurt in 3 weeks. So, all that being said, Elijah Mitchell is the bigger conversation here. Are you picking him up and immediately playing him as an RB3? Or do you think he's more just a high-end backup and you don't want to play the game hoping he gets that kind of workload every week?
Oh, no. I'm picking up Elijah Mitchell, and I am playing him. This is such a strategically brilliant move from the 49ers. So fantasy football aside, just for a hot minute here, we've seen so many of these teams go to the running back by committee, right? And this is the first time I've really seen this happen with the 49ers where there is a committee and it's not just one dude that's constantly being featured with someone else being slightly annoying. This is a committee, and it's the smartest thing that they can do.
I have to pause on you because this comes from Scott Angle. It's a timeshare, not a committee. A committee is 3+. A timeshare is 2.
God, I'm going to text Angle after we're done with the show and be like, listen, dude.
Tell him it came from me. It was one of the first things he ever told me when I got into this industry.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Timeshare is 2. Committee has to be 3+.
Okay, got it. Timeshare, I will remember this. Timeshare. And that's something a little different than we've seen from the 49ers. From a real football perspective, this is genius when you're trying to keep, I don't want to call him prone, but sustainably challenged running back like Christian McCaffrey healthy for the remainder of the season and into the playoff run like they want to do. This is the best way to do it. That means they're going to use Elijah Mitchell. So that exhibition game that they had with Christian McCaffrey was like, let's see what you can do, buddy. Okay, now tone it down. We need to keep you safe until we get to that place where we really need you to break off again. And be
I'm still hung up on the sustainably challenged.
I hate.
It sounded like ethically sourced.
Christian McCaffrey is definitely sustainably sourced. Ethically sourced, whatever you want to call it, but he has sustainability issues. Let's just put it that way. We're just making things up today, as we normally do on the show. Yay, waivers.
Yeah. Speaking of injuries, Najee Harris with his list Frank finally looked good. Looked bursty. If that can make that, I mean, Usi for all my wrestling friends out there. He looked more Usi than he has been for the entire year. Najee Harris almost 99 or almost 100 yards, had 99 on 20. Jaylen Warren mixed in. Here's the interesting thing: Jaylen Warren is mixed in a lot more in the passing game than Najee Harris was, which was the value we hoped for Najee Harris this year. Was that 300 touches because he was the receiving leader in receptions for running backs last year. Now seeing that, speaking of somebody who generally never uses a timeshare, Mike Tomlin is the king of I want a bell cow when he's had the opportunities to have a bell cow, and most of the time he has. This probably could be the list Frank is just going to be lingering now more this entire year. So are you picking up Jaylen Warren as an RB3? We already know he's one of the best backups in case something happens to Harris. But does Warren deserve to be in the conversation with Rashad and to not?
Yes. And it's so funny that you bring him up because that's exactly what I was going to do. You're talking about two backs that have completely different identities, but are extremely valuable, not only as high-end insurance policies, but also standalone value in their own right. Now, I don't think you necessarily have to. I would pick up Rachaad White and play him immediately. I don't necessarily think you have to start Jaylen Warren immediately as a must start or even as an RB3, but I think against defenses that are porous against pass-catching running backs, I think you're going to have a good game from Jaylen Warren. So that's where I would make the slight distinction between the two of them. But yes, he absolutely should be in that conversation. Slightly below Rachaad White for me, but yeah, he's right there. He's right there. And if he's not picked up already, what are you all doing? Our listeners are not doing that. Our listeners are wise.
Warren's been rostered, but where is Warren in the conversation with Kareem Hunt for you?
That's a good one.
I'm actually a little surprised at the Kareem Hunt hate. I think it's the fact of perception again, because all but 2 games he's had 7+ points. He's had 2 double-digit games, and if anything happens to Nick Chubb, we know it's Kareem Hunt. I think the biggest perception was that last year, it was better than this. It was more consistent than this. And also what we just saw on a highly viewed game and one that we projected to be better for the Browns and the Browns offense and better for Kareem Hunt. I think that's hurting things. So I still take Hunt over Warren because I know, we have a small sample of Warren and he plays for a worse team. So I'm going Hunt, but I think they're in a similar conversation now.
They certainly are. And I'm going to go Hunt over Jaylen Warren as well. And a big reason of that is the reintroduction, if you will, of Deshaun Watson, who is expected to be the starter when he's ready to go. That's what they've been starting to do. So that puts Kareem Hunt into a serious must-start conversation with Deshaun Watson, who hasn't played football in 2 years and is going to need as many people to help him as possible, not just rely on his legs. So, yeah, that I would give the nod to Kareem Hunt for that.
All right, before we quickly get to two more topics here, well, let's get to the first one. I'm going to fire through these. These are 3 kind of lottery tickets versus 3, they get used, but it's kind of use. So... Who do you like from this group? I'm an Isaiah Spiller fan. Kyron Williams is out there. A lot of snaps in his first action, but not a lot of action, not a lot of touching the ball. But it's the Rams. What is Kyron Williams going to do? I think the ceiling we just saw is Darrell Henderson, even if he takes over for Darrell Henderson. So anyway, I just kind of make my point against Kyron Williams. But anyway, Spiller, Kyron Williams, Keontae Ingram, who's now the backup because, Benjamin gone all of a sudden out of the blue. Or these guys who are kind of used but kind of Hubbard, Latavius Murray, and Kenneth Gainwell. Of those 6, who would be the one that you would go for?
I think I would go Keontae. Okay. I don't trust James Conner. Also, what was the phrase that I used? Sustainably, something. I don't trust James Conner.
Sustainably sourced? I forget. No. I don't even know now.
I don't even remember what I said. Someone messaged me at Stepmom Lauren and remind me what I called Christian McCaffrey.
Farm to table? I don't know.
Besides ethically sourced, like you said, it was
sustainably challenged. Thank you, Phil Mike. That's what you said.
Thank you.
Sustainably.
And also
Fox.
Thank you. Sustainably challenged.
Sustainably challenged.
James Conner.
Everybody
as well.
paying attention.
So give me Keontae.
More than I am.
Keontae.
All right. Then before we get out of here, backup quarterbacks. This is what I said in the column similar to, look, it's week 11. Start making your backup quarterback options. This is the pecking order I would go in. Backup quarterback, backup defense, then backup tight end, because backup tight end, whatever. It's tight ends. I don't even know if I waste my time with a backup tight end. If you lose Mark Andrews, unless it's Isaiah Likely, that's one. But if you lose Kelsey, you're not replacing him with anybody on the Chiefs.
Noah Gray, he's amazing.
Jody Fortston. So anyway, the backup quarterbacks, this is the ranking according to their playoff strength of schedule. I highlighted 4 that I like. Let's see if you have the same 4. So start making mental notes. Here we go. Mm-hmm. Order of schedule, not the order I like. Pickett, Garoppolo, Mac Jones, Davis Mills, Zach Wilson, Baker, Mariota, Brissett, Russ, Danny Dimes, and Heineke actually has the worst schedule of all of those. Which are the 4 you like? Or 3?
Man, that's a tough one. Mac Jones is interesting, but I like Mariota the best out of all of them, and Daniel Jones. I know those are a little bit more towards the back, middle and back of their strength of schedule there. But for my backup quarterback, I think I would go with those 2.
So my top pick would actually be Jimmy, because I think he's in the same conversation.
Yes, Jimmy Garoppolo. Oh my God, duh.
There you go. So the only one you missed that I actually, it was Jimmy Garoppolo, Mariota, Daniel Jones, and I highlighted Brissett too. But Brissett doesn't come into play unless Watson doesn't happen. That's why I highlighted him, because so the schedule is great, but that would be Watson's probably the quarterback, which is more likely to be the situation. Anyway, more likely to be a situation is to make sure to check out Lauren on Wednesdays, right? Wind up Wednesdays. At Stepmom Lauren over at FTN, code ALLIN, get you 20% off. Go to The Athletic. You could use Bets TV as the code. You could go to my rankings articles, waiver articles, rankings out at midnight. Updated Dynasty ranks this week, too. We'll be back tomorrow for more rankings. It's week 11, everybody. Enjoy.